All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll say the main event, the headline of the week. All right, I think we're back. Hold up. They try to stop us, but yeah, let's get into it fast, Chris. Let's get into it. Let's talk about that Sufa boxing event. Rayo Valenzuela headline against Diego Torres, La Sabache. Very good fight at the end of the day. Valenzuela got a big cut, and yeah, he actually improved after that cut. Here, let me show. I'm not gonna show the cut on the screen, but yeah, he ended up getting a pretty comfortable decision there. You see it there, the picture. Sorry, Boachuk was also in a very um entertaining fight against Raja Butaev. Split decision. I probably thought that Butaev did enough to win the fight at the end of the day. Sergey Boachuk got a close split decision, so that kind of keeps him up there. On top of that, list top 5, top 10 of the 154 pounders, and then Vostek, who was dominating Kalatzik, ended up getting stopped. So very good action there on Sunday. We're kind of going a little backwards there, but this is the appetizer for today, Chris.
Yeah, you said it right, Gio. Again, I think we got a whole feast of boxing this weekend, and yeah, the Super boxing event on Sunday almost felt like you want to order dessert. We're pretty full, so I was able to catch the Rayo. Not gonna lie, I didn't see the Boachuk or the Harad Bozdik fight, but I did see the highlights, and they looked like they were pretty good fights. Yeah, the Bozdik one, very interesting. Again, we know that he's a more of a pure boxer. For him to get stopped is it's a little telling, Gio. It's kind of saying that maybe his time is running out again. Once and still is a very talented fighter, but Father Time is catching up, and yeah, to lose to, in my opinion, someone that's a less of a fighter is very telling. Showing his age. Main event, Rayo Valenzuela. Again, he shows why the fans really love him. Win, lose, draw, he always puts up a good fight. He's always there to entertain. I feel like he's the type of guy that says the right things at the end of the interviews. Again, he's kind of like a Pitbull Cruz in a sense where, win, lose, or draw, they bring the crowd, they give it their all. They're very humble. And I mean, again, those fights are going to keep coming, and a good win for Rayo as he stays, active in his career.
Yeah, and you guys saw some of the highlights there on your right side of that Vosek fight. A fight he was dominating, knocked down his opponent twice. He was knocked down once in that last round, and then got hurt again in round 7. And yeah, referee saw enough. He was badly hurt. But yeah, that was a very good card. We'll see what else Sufa Boxing can bring to the table. I know they signed some names, but we'll see. I personally enjoyed this card, but let's go ahead and speak a little bit next on. No,
Well, let me
Chris.
ask you, Gio.
No, that's it, Chris. That's it.
Okay, I was gonna ask you your opinion on Sufa, but I know that they're very controversial, but they're starting from the ground up, and I mean, so far so good for at least the action that they've delivered.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to um Xander Zayas, who also won, right? I think he was in a close fight. I'm gonna be honest, didn't watch it, didn't care. This weekend was full of boxing, so I didn't pay really any attention to Xander.
Yeah, that one obviously that one got you know scheduled with other fights, and so I had to watch the highlights for that fight later. But of course, he becomes a unified champion again. Says the right things, in my opinion, to win over the crowd. Again, he speaks the language. Again, he's a likable guy. Obviously, we've joked about him getting to the front of the line, but so far he's doing everything in his power, at least correct. So unified champion. I think the first unified champion since Miguel Cotto. So again, he's got the island of Puerto Rico in the palm of his hand, and we know that in this sport, Gio, if you got a country behind you, that's gonna open doors. You sell tickets, you put butts in seats. That's a good sign for any promoter.
Two judges scored it for Zayas. The other had it for Baru. 16, 116, 112. All three scorecards, two for Zayas, one for Baru. He's 23 years old, Zayas. Unified champion at 154. That's a crazy statement for a guy who hasn't really faced anyone yet, but he already has two titles. So we'll see how far that can take him. Obviously, the fight at 154 that we were all looking at was the one in Newcastle, England. Bakram Murtazaliev against Josh Kelly. Kelly pulled off the unthinkable, Chris. I didn't even bother posting a poll on our channel because I just thought this was going to be a wash. Let me see. Xander isn't fighting any of the Elite 154s. So forget about him, says Big Bro. And then he also, to rewind a little bit, he says Rayo box well. Let me see. I still don't see him doing much at 135 against the top guys there, he says. But yeah, let's go to this all kind of intertwined Zayas and Murtazaliev. As I said, Josh Kelly pulled off a huge upset. I don't think people realize how huge of an upset this was. Give us your thought on the fight on the scorecards, Chris.
Yeah, no. First of all, shock. I was shocked. Of course, we have a little bias going into this fight. Just like many of the observers, we thought that Murtazali was gonna just annihilate Josh Kelly. So again, though those cards are a little controversial, but at the same time, I'm not too mad at it. Again, Josh Kelly fought a great fight, in my opinion. Boxed well the first 6 rounds. Obviously, he was knocked down. I said it on social media. What were the commentators doing or saying? Because there was no excitement from him getting knocked down. You saw the home crowd bias there, so I was very upset with that. But again, Josh Kelly got off the canvas, survived. I know that there's some controversy there with the second knockdown, but I got to commend him for just weathering the storm and coming back and eking out a decision. Again, I did not expect Josh Kelly to do what he did, and so you got to give him props for raising that title.
Yeah, so Iceman cooking already. He says he knocked down Kelly 3 times, only one counted. Yeah, so obviously Murtasaliev went down early in the fight, kind of tripped, kind of off balance, wasn't hurt, got up and smiled. Um, I thought the fight was a little too close. Anytime you fight in the UK, we talked about the judges, we talked about it with his trainer, Roma Kalentarian. He wasn't happy about the choice for the judges. And yeah, anytime there's a close fight over there, they're gonna give it to the hometown fighter. So going into that 12th round, and then after that last bell rang, I didn't feel too confident that they would give it to Murtazalia because of that reason. But yeah, I mean, aside from the one knockdown that Murtazaliev got, I saw another one that could have been a knockdown where he had Kelly a little bit hurt. Kelly held on to the rope, stayed up. I thought, in any other place in the world, they would have probably called that a knockdown. Obviously, it's England. Referee, if it's a little questionable, he's going to let it go. And then there was another one, a body shot that knocked Kelly down. Why they didn't call it a knockdown, I am not sure, but I think that would have gave Murtazaliev uh, the clear win. But as I said, it's England. I thought the fight was close enough for them to give it to Kelly. I think a draw would have been fine. It would have been fair, without obviously those other knockdowns counting. But yeah, a shocker nonetheless. I think Kelly did what he had to do. I think if he knew that if he survived the 12 rounds, there was a good chance that they would give him the fight. He did just that. He moved a lot. He held. At times, he boxed really, really well. And Murtasaliev was, oh, you got to say it, very inefficient cutting off that ring. He was frustrated that night. But yeah, I ain't mad at your comment, nice man. I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, no, again, Josh Kelly, and I texted you and Big Bro. He must have summoned a Sergio Maravilla Martinez for those first 6 rounds. Again, just boxing well, using lateral movement, his hands down. He was just super relaxed in there. Again, using the entire ring. Um, yeah, again, I knew he was a good boxer. I just, he summoned a great a great boxing strategy, especially in those first 6 rounds. So yeah, again, Gio, I think he was able to rack up many rounds. Obviously, Murtazaliev got knocked down, so that put him in a hole. He was able to knock down Kelly, and you're right. If you would have called those knockdowns, which I agree, some of those could have should have been called the knockdowns, he would have probably been up on this fight. But of course, not officially. They only called one. So again, I think a lot of spectators were a little disappointed because they wanted Murtazaliev to do that earlier in the rounds, bag those rounds. Again, when he had Kelly hurt, it almost felt like, okay, all those rounds that he lost in the first half of the fight, were not going to amount to anything. But again, Murtazaliev was not able to finish the job. Again, it shows how dangerous he can be when he's locked in. Again, I don't know what happened those first 6 rounds, Gio. That's not the Murtazaliev that we're used to. Again, got to give props to Kelly for boxing well. But yeah, man, again, not his best night at the office. I was able to text Coach Roma, and he did say he was a little disappointed, but he knows that they're going to come back. And again, we'll see what happens. Again, Boogeyman, he's going to get a lot of criticism from this, but it's time to see how they bounce back, Gio.
Yeah, and don't ever compare Sergio Martinez and Josh Kelly, man. That's disrespectful. But yeah, Murtasaliev went down in the fourth. Kelly went down in the ninth. That's when things got real interesting.
Yeah.
And it looked like Kelly maybe wasn't going to be able to survive, but he did a good job of surviving and finishing the fight. And you see the scorecards there. One judge had it 113, 113. One judge had it 115, 111 for Kelly. That's a crazy scorecard. And then the other had it close 114, 113, basically 7-5, you can say. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. It says here Kelly's the first world champion from Sunderland. And, they're probably going to try to keep the belt over there in the UK, make a big fight with one of those guys, one of those Brits. So we'll see how long the reign lasts for Kelly. I don't think it lasts very long. And, yeah, I don't think he gives Murtasaliev a rematch at all. But yeah, let's read some comments. Kelly outpointing him. Murtazaliev took too long to get going. Only had himself to blame for not being able to cut off the ring, says Big Bro. Kelly literally ran, says Iceman. And let me see. 15-month layoff might have hurt him, says Iceman. Yeah. He didn't fight last year, Murtazaliev. So yeah, that hurt him. I think that definitely hurt him, but I don't know, man. I don't know. He didn't look good until later in the fight.
Yeah, it's a good point that's brought up again. No excuses. Again, you got to give Kelly props. But yeah, those first 6 rounds, it almost feels like looking back in retrospect that he was, shaking off that ring rust. it wasn't until he hurt Kelly that it seemed like, okay, the Murtazaliev world is here. It's the champ is here. But yeah, again, a little too late. Again, those knockdowns don't count. That didn't go in officially, but hopefully this lights a fire in Murtazaliev, and they're able to bounce back again. Gio, where do these fighters go from here? Where does Murtazaliev go? Who do you see Josh Kelly calling out next and fighting likely back in the UK? And Xander, where do you see him go from here?
I do not know, Chris. I do not know. I didn't pay much attention to the post-fight interviews or anything. Um, yeah, I thought it was an entertaining fight, and I think Murtazaliev disappointed, but yeah, hopefully he can be back. I don't think he gets many opportunities after this. Obviously, he's a dangerous fighter, dangerous puncher, very high risk, low reward. He doesn't have a belt now, so man, it's gonna be tough for them to get a fight.
Yeah, and again, I hope some of these brave souls are able to put some stuff together. Again, he's still a very dangerous man in that division at 154. We know that he's gonna have to, in a sense, start from scratch, and in a way, again, a lot of promoters will not want their man to go in there against Mortazalia. But again, if you keep winning, keep rising in the ranks, eventually they're gonna have to fight you. But yeah, man. Again, overall, great start to that Saturday, Gio.
Big Bro says Eddie Hearn said Kelly had already signed to fight Boots next before the fight even happened, so he won't be champ for long. Dang, they're feeding him to the wolves already. They're sacrificing him. Crazy. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think Boots had already signed a fight with Kelly. Yeah, so yeah, it probably won't last long. I don't see him competing with a guy like Boots. But we said the same thing about Murtazaliev, and look at him, he pulled it off. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and move on to this Fundora versus Thurman. We remember that fight was supposed to happen, didn't happen after all. Now it's being moved to March 28th. They rescheduled. I'm surprised, man. They're still giving Thurman some chances. He hasn't been active for so long. He hasn't fought you can say a top guy in so long. I can't remember when was the last time, but hey, he's getting a title shot now. I think Fundora is going for the money fights as opposed to the legacy fights now.
Yeah, this is 100% a money fight, Gio. Again, Thurman is almost in that same stage as Errol Spence, in my opinion, a little bit more active, but pretty much, like you said, a money fight, a name fighter, past their prime. So again, everything favors Fundora. Um, Obviously, Fundora is in the best moment of his career, in my opinion, as a champion. His confidence has elevated, but Thurman is still a pretty dangerous man. Again, you cannot just discount a guy like Thurman. Again, obviously, age is not on his side, but still, I feel like it's going to be a great fight for however long it lasts. I'm not as excited about it as I was, the years before when this fight was getting made, a year ago, year and a half ago. But hey, Thurman's still a man. He's going to make it entertaining as long as it lasts, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this fight is supposed to be on pay-per-view, man. No shame by those guys. No shame. Um, Las Vegas, March 28th. Man, I don't know. I don't think any of those guys have ever sold anything, so that's going to be a tough one to sell to the public. Fundora, 23, 1-1, 15 KOs. Thurman, 36 and 1, 23 KOs. Fundora, you see there in 2025, you stopped Tim Zhu and Cordell Booker, and Keith Thurman. He was supposed to fight Timmy Zhu. Wait, Thurman was forced out of fight Timmy Zhu. 2024. Thurman was replaced by Fundora, and we remember what happened there. That was a very very good fight between Fundora and Zhu. And Thurman's last fight, he's 37 years old. He fought Brock Jarvis in March of 2025. So, like I said, yeah, he hasn't had a relevant fight in a long time. Hey, but he gets a chance now. So, yeah, interesting things happening at 154. Xander Zayas unified champion. Murtazaliev loses his belt against the underdog Josh Kelly in England, and Fundora will be defending his belt against Keith Thurman. So a lot of movement there. We'll see where Virgil Ortiz fits in all of this. We're kind of seeing where they're taking Boots, what route they're taking him in. He'll probably be a champion by the end of the year if that fight with Kelly happens this year in 2026. So yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, I agree with Big Bro. I don't think Sayas is facing any of these guys. I think he's staying far away from everyone at 154.
Yeah, I hope Big Bro's wrong, but again, very protected there by his promotion company. Again, unified against a guy that nobody really knew, Gio. So yeah, hopefully Xander's able to flip the script and get us some good name fights because we got exactly that with Delfimo and Shakur. So hopefully the young man's able to flip that script. But before we move on to other fights, Gio, I gotta ask, Wondara Thurman, I think last time we talked about it, you gave Wondara 70-30. Where do you have this fight at now?
I haven't thought about it, but yeah, I don't
Off the dome.
I don't
Off the
care.
dome.
90-10.
Man, it's gonna be a tough night in my opinion for Thurman. Again, it's the age, Gio. It's the age in my opinion. And again, Thurman or Funora just a
All right.
Goro in there, man.
All
It's
right.
too big. Too big.
All right, let's move on. Tyson Fury announced his comeback. Chris, I don't know if we're surprised by this. I don't think any of us thought he was retired, but he'll be fighting Anslabek Makhmudov April 11th. This fight will be on Netflix. All right, so I think they're still trying to sell that fight with Anthony Joshua ultimately. I think that's what this is about. But give us your thoughts on this. Tyson Fury announcing his comeback. Wilder announced his comeback against Derek Chisora. We'll see what Anthony Joshua does after that Jake Paul win and the tragic news that happened shortly thereafter. He hasn't really said much, but yeah, as of now, we have Fury coming back and Wilder coming back.
Yeah, first of all, I never believed that he was going to stay retired forever, but I didn't think he was going to come back this early. So, you know, when people talk of retirement, I'm thinking he's going to stay retired 2.5, 3 years, but he's back again. I don't really know his opponent all too well, but anytime Tyson Fury comes back to the ring, in my opinion, it's good for boxing. It's good for business. We've talked about how personalities and entertainment is so important to boxing, and Tyson Fury is one of those seven, in my opinion. So again, I'd love to see the Gypsy King back. Again, we do want to see that fight with Anthony Joshua, and it's either this year or next year. And after that, I don't see it being as exciting, Gio. So happy to see Tyson Fury back.
21-2, 19 KOs. His opponent, Makhmudov, 36 years old from Russia. Let's see some of the notable names there. He defeated TKO'd Guido Vianello, who Top Rank was, trying to build up, but he stopped him. I'm sorry, he lost to Vianello, and then he also lost to Ajit Caballero in 2023, got stopped against him. Those are his notable opponents. Defeated Carlos Takam by decision. Takam a lot older nowadays, but yeah, he gets this payday now. Uh, Netflix, interesting. Netflix picks up another boxing fight.
Yeah, Netflix usually means it's not pay per view. It's obviously you're subscribed to get the fight. So not mad at that. Again, Tyson Fury is good for boxing. He's entertaining. Again, Netflix picks up another personality. So again, yeah, it's a W in my book. But yeah, we do get tired of those whole I'm retired and it's over, and then they come back. Man, either just take a layoff or don't stay. Just or stay retired, man. Again, I like Tyson. I've interviewed him in the past. Great dude. But yeah, man, we get tired of these announcements for retirement, Joe.
All right, let's stay on the heavyweight division because Big Baby Miller fought this past week, and he was on that undercard of Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. And this guy went viral. He went viral on Saturday. Look at that, Chris. Missing the top of his hair. His opponent punched it off his hair. Let me see if we can find a better picture here. This is the aftermath. Let's see. Here it is. Boom. Look at that. He explained it on the Breakfast Club why he had his hair like that and what happened, which is funny. He was a good sport about it. I'm surprised he continues to get um, opportunities. He also touched on that on the Breakfast Club, his failed drug test. He said the last one was one of those pills that you buy at the gas station for performance. Um, Not in the ring, but with his partner. That's what he blamed it on. But yeah, to stay on this topic here, let me play this video here so you guys can see.
You chose to call.
It's not that one, sorry. Here it is. Look at that. Boom. What is going on there? My goodness. I thought this was pretty funny, but Big Baby Miller's an entertaining guy, and that's why they keep calling him, I guess. Even after all those drug tests that he failed, they keep calling him.
Yeah, no, first of all, shout out to him for tricking us for how many years that was his actual hair, because I would not have guessed it. Again, it looks like the real deal, man. Again, he's been getting punched for years and years and years, and it's never come out. So shout out to him for tricking us this whole time. Second, just like you said, shout out to him for weathering this embarrassment on national television. He was a good sport about it. Anybody could have, just I would have walked out, Gio. I would have walked out of that ring like, man, take that W. I'm out. But he played to the crowd. He tossed it in his wig into the crowd, and honestly, this has low key been a blessing in disguise, Joe. I'm pretty sure everybody has forgotten about those drug allegations. Like you said, he was on the Breakfast Club. He's on Jimmy Kimmel tonight, if I'm not mistaken. He's just everywhere, just rolling with this. And again, this is just going to give him more fights, Gio. This is a guy that we said on the podcast should never be fighting again because of those allegations. But honestly, everything's optics, and he played to the crowd. He's went viral. He made a bad situation into something good, and so yeah, man. Again, I don't obviously condone his drug use and all his failed tests, but man, he's making the best out of this moment, Gio.
Yeah, and he grabbed it and threw it into the crowd, and all the people ringside were taking pictures with it. Um, I think Sky Nicholson took pictures with it. Like all the boxers there who were ringside were taking a picture with that thing. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Obviously, in a card that was supposed to be a very interesting card, and let me pull it up for you guys. We can go straight into that. Teofimo Lopez against Shakur Stevenson card. Let me see. Before we get into the main event, let's talk a little bit about that undercard. We saw there Big Baby Miller. He won by split. He said I was getting my ass whooped before that happened, and he said, "Man, I couldn't go back to the hood looking all crazy like that. So at least I had to win." He said I couldn't get embarrassed and lose a fight. So yeah, he stepped it up and actually won that fight. Big Baby Miller, who's now 37 years old. Surprisingly, he only has that one loss to Daniel Dubois. He has a draw against Andy Ruiz. And then, of course, you guys remember he was supposed to get that fight with AJ. And then subsequently, Andy Ruiz took his spot because he failed a drug test. And like I said, he blamed it on a dick pill. But um, but yeah, let's go continue on to the rest of the card. Come on, go back, go back, go back. Let me see here.
Yeah, no,
Let's talk.
again,
Yeah,
Joe. Shout,
let's
shout,
talk.
shout out to Big.
Yeah,
Go for it, go.
yeah. Enough shout outs, Chris. Let's talk Shusha Carrington. He got a big KO. He looked good. He looked good in front of his home crowd right there in New York. KO against Carlos Castro.
Yeah, no, again, what a performance by Shushu. Again, this is one of those fights where he could have been derailed again. The homegrown curse, the fighting in your own backyard, the nerves could get to you. Again, you might be trying to show off a little too much, not being responsible in there. But again, he weathered some tough moments. Again, he had a tough opponent in front of him that tested him. But man, Shushu, I think this was a coming out party, Gio, in my opinion. Again, you see moments of a star and in interviews, pressers. This kid is just likable. He's just entertaining, and he's a shit talker, but he backs it up. Again, he's just like the primo next door. So again, Shout out to Shushu again. I think this was a coming out party. He is a belt holder now, a title holder, and so I think it's well deserved against a tough opponent, and he took him out.
All right, Chris. We'll try to keep this under 30 seconds. All right. Um, Zizzo lost. Shout out to Zizzo, man. Suffered the first defeat of his career. Didn't look good. That was on the prelims, I believe. Zizzo Amayuf. Austin Williams actually kicked off the action. Um, his opponent, Adames, had to pull out, unfortunately, at the end there. So they just kind of threw him an opponent. He won by unanimous. Um, we talked Shushu. Keyshawn Davis against Jermaine Ortiz. That went all the way to the 12th round. And literally, Jermaine Ortiz got stopped with 13 seconds left. At the end of the day, you see the scorecards there, how they had it. It was wide, 118, 110, 110, 98. Basically winning every round, Keyshawn Davis. But he did it against a very good opponent and Jermaine Ortiz. I do not agree with the stoppage. There was 13 seconds left. He got hit with a body shot. He was probably going to get up. He got up after the first one, but our boy, I believe it was Thomas Taylor who just stopped it. I would have let him continue, because as we know, Jermaine Ortiz is a very good fighter. He gave tough fights to Loma, to Teofimo Lopez, and obviously he hadn't been stopped before. And this that staying on that record, getting stopped by Keyshawn Davis. But other than that, very good performance by Keyshawn, and like I said, he pretty much won every single round. So yeah, he looked very, very good in this one.
Yeah, I disagree, Joe. I think that was a great stoppage. And again, Thomas Taylor is one of the best refs currently in boxing. Again, it comes down to like I'm not looking at the time. If a fighter's hurt, I'm calling it. I think that's what Thomas Taylor did. Again, what a game effort by Jermaine Ortiz. Again, very athletic fighter. You can tell he was in shape. He was there to win, and man, Davis is just a dog. He reminds me of Terrence Crawford. It's that extra power, that extra gear that you just want to hurt and finish off your opponent. Again, Davis is a game player in that division. Man, I wish him and Shakur didn't have that gentleman's agreement, man, because that would be a great fight. But shout out to Davis, shout out to Jermaine. What a fight.
Wait, so what makes you think that he wouldn't have gotten up after
Oh,
he
oh
got
yeah,
up?
he could have gone. Gio, he could have gotten up. I agree. He's in shape where he could have gotten up, but he was going to get hurt. So yeah, I think
Chris,
that's a decision for the ref. He could have let him survive, and for his pride intact, I think he does deserve it. But at the same time, Jermaine was going to get hurt.
there was 13 seconds left. If he gets up,
Hey,
the fight is basically over after the countdown.
hey, it
there would have
reminds me
been
a little bit of yeah,
there would have been like 3 seconds left. The fight would have been
yeah,
over.
yeah, man. Again, it's like a Meldrick Taylor Chavez Jr. You could
No,
have let him go the distance. You could have let him survive for his pride, or because they're fighters or warriors. But at the same time, it's like I think Thomas didn't care about the time. He would probably tell us if we tell him, "Hey, how come you let him?" He's like, "I don't care. I see a fighter hurt. I'm stopping it." So I see where you're coming from, Gio. He could have let him survive. He probably would have hugged or something. But man, I think Thomas just made an executive decision there.
yeah, he's one of those decisions that I feel like are made to, make certain people look good. That's all.
Oh, okay. I see that too. I don't disagree with that. You want to make him look like a killer. Like I do see that. So I don't want to say Thomas Taylor took some offshore money, but
No,
I see your point, man. I want to believe that he did it because of the integrity of the sport, dude.
all right. But yeah, that was a pretty good fight, and of course, the main event: Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson. Lopez's belt was on the line at 140 pounds. Shakur Stevenson moving up in weight. Shakur obviously was undefeated at 24-0. Teofimo 22-1 before the fight. That lone defeat against George Kambosos, but man, he got beat in this one. 119, 109, 119, 109, 119, 109. I mean, basically in every single card they give him one round. Looked terrible. His face looked terrible after. Let me pull that. Let me pull that up for you guys real quick. Let me pull that post up. He stated that he's going off to the welterweight division now. You see his face there, badly bruised, Teofimo Lopez. Um, I believe we both chose him to win by decision, right? And
Think so.
man,
Yeah.
that was such an easy win for Shakur Stevenson. Give us your thoughts on this fight.
No, first of all, props to Shakur Stevenson. What a master class. Again, I don't think he's the most exciting, but he is the most efficient. If I had to compare it to a DBZ fighter, he's like Cell, almost perfect, yo. Down defense, ultra accurate. What a jab, what timing, distance. He had that master to a T. He made a very good fighter, and Delfimo looked like an amateur. Again, we picked Delfimo. I wanted to believe that he had that extra something special, that twitch, something that would disrupt Shakur, but it wasn't to be. Again, props to Shakur. What a master class in boxing.
Yeah, so look, I would never say I'm a Shakur Stevenson fan. Just like Big Bro said, can't believe Big Baby Miller is still fighting after all those drug tests. In boxing they sweep things under the rug. I would never say, man, I support Shakur because I've seen him punch women on video. And Top Rank did a great job of kind of sweeping that under the rug. But let me say this. Before the fight, I didn't care too much about Shakur. Like I said, I probably would never um, say I support him, but I think this is one of those fights that made me change my opinion on people. I can give examples of that in the past where I thought, certain guys maybe were overrated or maybe didn't have the resume yet, and there are certain fights that kind of uh, open your eyes, I guess you can say, and make you say, man, this guy's he might be the real deal. Example, Canelo versus Triple G1 when Canelo was moving up in weight, went up to challenge the boogeyman, not only of that division, but of boxing. If you guys remember, Triple G was stopping everyone at the time, and Canelo moved up in weight, challenged him, and ultimately got a draw. Yes, controversial, but to me, I was like, man, hey, this guy Canelo might be the real deal if he can go up and wait and do that. You know, Fights like Errol Spence versus Kell Brook in England. I'm like, all right, this guy Spence, he might be the real deal. You know, um, Even a fight like Anthony Joshua against Klitschko, even though Klitschko was older, but the way that Joshua won that fight, getting off the canvas after being badly hurt and then stopping Klitschko, I was like, oh man, this British guy, maybe he's not that bad. I think this is that fight for Shakur, for me at least. You know, he's been in good fights, but with guys who are fairly limited, I would say. You can't question their heart or their skill on offense, but like I said, limited when it comes to hit and not getting hit, like Valdez, like Cepeda. Very good fights, but to me, this is the name that Shakur needed on his resume. Teofimo Lopez, a guy who has fought at the elite level, who has beat top guys. Still not convinced with that Loma fight. I think he got absolutely dominated in the second half of the fight, and which brings me to this next point. Teofimo Lopez, if you want to be an elite fighter, get a trainer, man. We've said this before many times. We've said this here. We watched the fight in my living room with the guys, and before the fight, we're giving our predictions, and that's one thing that I feel like everyone said. Teofimo doesn't really have a corner. You know, doesn't really ever have a plan B, and honestly, doesn't really ever have a plan A. He's able to win a lot of these fights based off size, athleticism. He's a skillful guy, but I feel like against a guy like Shakur, that's not enough, and you saw it. You saw it. You heard it in the corner. They just had no plan. And yeah, he just needs to find someone, and I'll let you go in a second, Chris, because I know I'm ranting now, but sometimes you got to remove your ego, man. Look at what Gabriel Murataya Sr. is doing with Ray Murataya. They work alongside Robert Garcia, and Raymond's pops is his head trainer, his main trainer. But when they're on TV, he lets Robert get his shine. He doesn't have that ego. Same with Virgil Ortiz Sr. He's a head trainer, but in front of the cameras, hey, all the shine goes to Robert, and I feel like because those guys care um about their sons, and they don't have that ego, to say, man, I want to get the shine, I want to be the head trainer. No, they allow others to come in and do their work too, and I'm sure they learned a lot from a guy like Robert Garcia. So yeah, Teofimo Lopez, man, you need a new corner, honestly.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Senior has taken Teofimo as far as he can. Again, Teofimo, we saw his ascension, the takeover, doing amazing stuff early in his career in his early 20s, just completely taking over the division, winning, division and winning name after name, fighting guys like Lomachenko, fighting, big name fighters, and again unifying the division, becoming a ring champion. Again, I feel like he's easily going to go down as the greatest Honduran fighter of all time thus far. But I mean, there's that elite level, Gio, and I think he was flirting with it. But again, like you said, in these kinds of fights, the fights that you fight guys like a Shakur, you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to have a plan B, C, and obviously his father doesn't have that for him. Again, Teofimo, like you said, was able to win a lot of these fights off of like just that skill, again, off that twitch, off that explosiveness. But at that level, you need something else, man. You need somebody like a Robert Garcia. You need somebody like a Freddie Roach, somebody that has an actual experience when it comes to these kinds of fights. These kinds of events under the lights. So again, I hope he doesn't take this loss too to heart. Again, he fought against, in my opinion, one of the purest boxers in the game, one of the best fighters of all time when it comes to that boxing purity. So, yeah, man, I don't think he should go up to welterweight just yet. I think the main thing he should do, and I agree with you and a lot of the experts, he just needs a world class trainer that's going to get him back into those winning ways. But yeah, man, again, you can't take anything away from Shakur. He did his thing. He's one of the best. He's definitely, in my opinion, top 5 pound for pound currently.
Yeah, let's go to some comments here. And look, we don't want to discredit what his pops has done. He's taken him this far,
Right.
but just imagine how much better he can be if he had someone experienced in that corner, man. That's all I'm saying. All right. Telfimo didn't do shit, says Iceman. Big Bro says, I had it 10-2, 9-3 before the fight. Didn't think it would be a complete shutout. Masterful performance from Shakur. How Shakur
Yeah.
knotted up Tofimo's forehead and busted up his eye with a jab. And Shakur is not known for power, says Iceman. With a decent coach, Tofimo, in the corner, Tofimo might have won 2 or 3 rounds, says Big Bro. Shakur could have stopped him if he really went for it. And look, you got to give Shakur credit because he stood there. He made Teofimo
Oh,
fight on the back foot. I thought he was going to make it boring. And that's why I say this is one of those fights because, I feel like he took a page out of that Floyd book early in his career. And I feel like he's kind of doing it the opposite now. He's kind of flipped it against Cepeda. He stood there in the pocket. Same thing now against Teofimo. Where we saw Floyd, who was exciting in the first half of his career and very boring in the second half of his career. I think Shakur is doing it in reverse, that reverse Uno card. And I like it. I like it, man. And look, I don't really see anyone beating this version of Shakur. You know, we might see a guy who might go undefeated, and he's sharp. He's great on defense. He's a master at controlling the distance, the pace, and yeah, he's a great boxer. He has a ton of skill, and at times he's very emotional. You see him in the corner after the round. Sometimes he's getting a little emotional, maybe laughing a little too much or crying a little too much at the end of some post fight interviews. But when that bell rings, he's 100% focused, and man, he was very very sharp in this fight.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Gio. Obviously, we've compared Shakur to Floyd, and at times we compared, the skills. At times we compared, that they're boring or that they're not as entertaining. But again, this was a coming out party for Shakur himself. Again, I don't think we've seen such a dominant performance from a fight where we thought it was going to be close to 50-50 or close to, 55-45. Obviously, the last time that we saw that was, I wouldn't say it was going to be the Bam fight with Puma was going to be close, but what a shutout. And Shakur does the same thing, near shutout against a top opponent. So, again, we knew the skill was always there, but we wanted to see some entertainment. Again, we know that Teofimo is entertaining outside the ring. And in my opinion, I wanted him to win because I wanted to see that excitement continue. It's that takeover is dim for a little bit, but now it's the Shakur time. Hopefully, we get to see Shakur test his abilities against other guys. We know some names out there that have been calling him out. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy task. Shakur is the goods. Again, one of the purest boxers, one of the hardest assignments in boxing. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens next. I believe it when he said some guys don't want to fight him, and props to Teofimo Lopez for not being one of those guys and taking this assignment. But I agree, Gio. Lopez needs a world class trainer. So I'm going to pose you the question: who would you put if you were his manager? Who would you hire to train Teofimo Lopez next?
Robert Garcia.
Okay, good choice. I like that. I would pick maybe like a Virgil Hunter, somebody that's gonna be a nice guiding force for his mental state. But
And
yeah,
yeah,
man, again,
I'd hire like Roger. No, not Roger. Sorry, R.I.P. Floyd Mayweather Sr. or something.
yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, let's keep it moving, Chris. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
25-0, 11 KOs. Shakur, 28, 4 division champ. And he's building a good resume here. He's added Teofimo to that. Won every single round pretty much. Before that, William Cepeda El Camarón. Josh Padley, who has also got a victory. If you guys remember, the last minute replacement became a sensation because actually he fought a good fight against Shakur. Got a victory this past weekend. De Los Santos, that ultra super boring fight. Coseisao, that's a decent win. Valdez is a good win. Herring, decent win. Nakatila, decent win. Before that, not much. But yeah, he's Joey Gonzalez. But yeah, he's building his resume little by little. Shakur Stevenson, and hopefully he gets a big money fight next. Because yeah, I think he's at that level. He proved it. There's no question about it now. And yeah, I think that's what should be next. Big, 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 big money fights from now on. And that's it for Shakur. That's all I want to see.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Again, shout out to these two guys for getting in the ring together again. That's what we want to see for 2026, man. Just big names, big fights. And again, it's been the best 1-2 weekends thus far. Hopefully, we get more of these in the calendar year, Gio.
Yeah, all right, let's go. Iceman, he mentions that Jay Prince roster there: Ward, Crawford, Mayweather, Shakur, Keyshawn, Abdullah Mason. Yeah. So hey, another reason why he's not gonna lose, man. Not on the scorecard. Shakur ain't losing on the scorecards. That's all I can say.
I got to ask you, Gio, what obviously Shakur almost near a perfect fighter. Who are the top three names that you see him being challenged the most? Three names.
Gervonta Davis, Raymond Murataya, 135, 140. That might be it. I don't know.
I'm gonna throw in Davis and their Keyshawn Davis, even though they're not gonna fight, and they've said it
Yeah.
time and time again. But yeah, with Tank, I could see Tank losing every single round and maybe hitting a homer, but very, very hard against the Shakur Stevenson. And Raymond, of course, I think Raymond's got the size to trouble anybody from 135 to even 147. I think he's more of a 147. But yeah, man, I think those are the three names that can trouble Shakur.
Shakur wants that Conor Ben easy payday, says Big Bro. Yeah, Eddie Hearn fighters. Eddie Hearn fighters.
Yeah, the thing with Conor Ben is Conor Ben will lose every single round, but that's that size, man. If he lands some good punches, man, I don't know. but very, very hard to land anything on Shakur, as we saw his last fight.
15% of his punches, according to CompuBox, Lopez landed. 15, 72 of 468.
Yeah, man. I would love to see those sparring sessions between him and Terrence Crawford. I feel like that's a high level, A plus level kind of sparring deal. But we'll see what happens next with Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, and Conor Benn hopped onto the ring and they share some words, some back and forth. Yeah, man, they're looking out for Conor Benn, man. He hasn't really faced those big names. Obviously, I guess the Eubank fight, he lost one, won the second. But yeah, they're looking out for him, man. They're trying to sell all these fights with Conor Benn's name attached to them. The Rollies was getting into it with Conor Benn. We've seen in the past Ryan Garcia getting into it with Conor Benn. So, you know, hey, after February 21st, Ryan Garcia might have a belt. You know, he picked on the easiest target at 147. Respectfully, Mario Barrios, respectfully, but everyone wanted that title fight against Barrios, man. That's you want a belt, you fight that guy. You know, so I think it'll get interesting after Ryan wins that belt if he does, because now probably Rolly would want it again. Connor Ben and really anyone around that division. Maybe even Shakur Stevenson. Who knows?
Yeah. I also wouldn't mind seeing Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney again. Two high level boxers, not the biggest punchers, so that would definitely be a chess match. So again, two big name fighters there. Wouldn't be mad if that fight were to get made in 2026, Gio.
What fighter would y'all like to see Shakur fight next? I personally think the only guy who would fight him and the only guy who right now would give him trouble because the other guy's in jail, I would say Raymond Murataya. You know, styles make fights, and you know Raymond's a guy who's very confident. You saw it against Andy Cruz, and any conversation we've had off air with him or his dad, man, they want Shakur. They've been wanting him forever. You know, they're very confident. So, man, that makes me think they know something I don't. So, I think that would be a great fight.
Yeah, obviously this fight would be more competitive than that Teofimo Lopez. Again, you have a brain like a Robert Garcia in that corner. Again, he's gonna have some plan B's and C's, and so yeah, the size, the you know, no respect will be shown, in my opinion, by Raymond to Shakur. That's the game plan that they took into that Andy Cruz fight. That's the only way to disrupt that pure boxing style. So I think Raymond, again, it's not going to be an easy fight. Probably the toughest assignment in that division, but I think Raymond is the type of guy to make it a very compelling affair.
Yeah, 100%. Leave us your last comments before we get out of here. Next week, we'll have our predictions updated. Of course, we got this Teofimo Lopez one wrong. I think we both knew that there was a strong possibility, you know, that Shakur could do what he did. I just didn't think it would make it look that easy. There was just nothing coming from Teofimo Lopez side. You know, usually at least he'll throw some haymakers, you know, against Cambosos. He did that when he lost, you know, he went out fighting. And this one, just
Yeah,
nothing. And you got to give Shakur a lot of credit for that. Um, I think I got the Rayo one correct. We got obviously the Murtazaliev one wrong. So man, we got some catching up to do, man. We got some wrong this
man.
weekend.
Yep. We threw some haymakers. We got caught on the way in. But yeah, again, shout out again to Shakur. Again, I think I, my brain said that he would win 7-5-8-4. But yeah, I agree. I did not think it was going to be a no hitter, man. So shout out to Shakur, man. Again, he's the goods. He's the cell, in my opinion, almost a perfect fighter, and it's gonna take a lot for somebody to beat him. Again, getting that silver medal was probably the best thing that could have happened to his career. Everybody has seen, the crying memes, the crying video. Again, those kinds of losses, stick with you and they make you a better fighter, man. He probably never wants to feel that feeling again. So blessing in disguise for Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, some comments here. I want to see Raymond and Keyshawn says Big Bro. And Iceman says Raymond showed some grit against Andy Cruz.
And again, if Davis and and Shakur didn't have the gentleman's agreement, I would say the winner of Davis versus Raymond deserves to get a crack at Shakur for absolute supremacy. Again, these are in and around the best fighters at that weight of this era. So I've always said when they grow into that welterweight, that's where they can cement themselves as all time, greats or greats in the sport. So we'll see what happens in the next year or two for all of these men in that division, Joe.
Yeah, and my last comment for me, yeah, impressed again by Shakur. His level of focus to me makes him different, and yeah, we got to start talking about him as one of the top pound for pound fighters. I know a lot of people probably had him top 10 maybe before this, but man, he might be up there, man. If we start naming the names, it's the usual suspects, right? Usyk, Inoue. I
Mm-hmm.
have Bam high up there. Shakur might be top 5, top 6. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Yeah. No, again, I think there's certain guys that always have the skill, and they do have the skill to be in the 10 geo, but we've always said until you beat a named fighter, somebody that's also in those rankings, mentioned in those top 10s, that's the only way to really break in legitimately. And he's done it. Props to him again. I know I sound like a broken record, but you need to have those big names to crack those spots, Gio.
All right, last thing here. I just googled the purses. Let's see, for the big January 2026 Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez fight, both fighters earned substantial paydays with projections suggesting each man cleared $8 to $10 million, potentially more with pay-per-view shares, making it the biggest purse of their careers. With total event
Well
purses
deserved.
rumored between 18 and 25 million. Lopez was expected to make slightly more, possibly 10 to 15, compared to Shakur's 8 to 10. Obviously, he had a little more experience. He had bigger fights, so I can see that. But look, I'm glad they both got paid. Teofimo, that's one thing he had been complaining about in the past. How even in the big fights he didn't get paid much. He talked about that Loma fight. I think they barely cracked a million or something like that. And after all the fees, you got to pay managers and trainers and this guy and that guy. You end taxes. You end up going home with 300K maybe. From that 1 million. So, and I think he broke that down too after that Loma fight. But so I'm glad he got paid, and I'm glad Shakur got paid because hey, hopefully he says, look, I fought an exciting fight. People loved it. People are giving me props, and I'm making a lot of money. So hopefully he keeps it up.
Yeah, again, that was one of the criticisms that we had in the past of Shakur. Again, that he will lull the fight. Again, he's so skilled that I feel like he knows he can take some chances, and that's exactly what he did. Like you said, I was very impressed with just that front step, always in the pocket. Again, reminded me of that Floyd Mayweather versus Miguel Cotto kind of fight where we all said, "Oh, Cotto's gonna make him run." We already know that Floyd is a runner, and those are some of the criticism that Shakur has gotten, over the years. But again, he proved that he is the goods, and he's an elite fighter, and hopefully he keeps up that same style because that's the one that's gonna get people to come back and watch.
Iceman says Keyshawn or Abdullah versus Shakur, and Abdullah Mason has the belt at 135, so that's a possibility. Obviously, he's still young. What is he now?
Mm.
Believe 22. He might be
Yeah.
now. So yeah, I think he still has a long ways to go. He had a very good fight his last time out against Sam Dokes. But yeah, I would like to see Abdullah in a couple more big fights, man. But that would be great. Last thing too, did want to mention that Murtazaliev versus Kelly purse because I had read that Murtazaliev was gonna get, I forgot what the number was, like 80% of it or something. But here, let's read what it says here. Um, Kelly was entitled to only 15% of the purse as the mandatory challenger. Hey, so at least Murtazaliev got paid a little bit for that. But man,
Yeah,
that's crazy. 15% and then you walk away with the belt. Man, that's crazy. What a night for Kelly.
and yeah, again, at least Mortazella walks away with a big purse. I know that Coach Roma has said that money's not really an issue for them. They want the big fights, but I mean, that's a little, at least you come home with a bag, and hopefully you use that entice other fighters, man. But again, Murtazaliev, again, that round where he got it, Kelly Hurt shows what kind of fighter he is. Hopefully, he's able to get some good fights put together so he can break back into title contention. But yeah, man, I feel like this opens doors for fights like the Brandon Adams, maybe some fights against other notable fighters in that top 10 to get Murtazaliev back into title contention. But yeah, man, again, I'm congratulating people all day today, Joe. Congrats to Kelly, man. He pulled off a great upset.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see lastly here how much Rayo made. Well, we pocket watching over here, man. But no, I thought I looked these over on the weekend and I thought they were interesting. Let's see. I don't think they revealed it, but I think Rayo was gonna crack over 1 million for this fight, so that's real good. Let's see if they announced those after the fact. But that was a second card by Sufa. 2 weekends in a row, I believe they put on a card. So we'll see what they come up with next. But yeah. Let's see. Last comment here by Iceman. Maybe Murtazaliev will get fights now. Yeah. Hopefully they see him as a guy who you can beat, man. Just don't throw Timmy Zhu his way anymore, man. Let's not do that.
And obviously, we'll be in conversations with Coach Roma. He'll give us some insights of who they're looking at, who's accepting fights, and yeah, what's in store for Tim Murtazaliev. So again, yeah, man. Again, it was a great weekend of boxing, Gio. Again, great names, great fights, great competition. The boys got paid, so overall, it was a big W for boxing this weekend.
Yep. And then before we get out of here, let's see what we have coming up. I don't think we have anything crazy coming up this weekend, but it'll be here. Let's see. Um, February 5. Oh, February 7. This is a decent fight here. Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa, live from Liverpool, England. Shout out to Liverpool. Shout out to the Scousers. The Zone, if y'all want to watch that. That's this weekend, this Saturday. Big height advantage there by Figueroa. Let's see if he can take advantage of that. And let's see, Delphine Pursoon, some women's action there from Grand Rapids, Michigan. F.A. Ajakwa against Charles Martin. I think this is a SUFA event. February 15th. I believe that's a Sunday too. Interesting. They're doing Sunday events. Probably trying to save on that building rental. Let's see. Who else do we have? Mario Barrios, obviously. Ryan Garcia, February 21st, Las Vegas. The Zone. That's also on pay-per-view. They were selling a bundle for the Teofimo Lopez and Shakur fight and the Ryan and Garcia and Mario Barrios fight. If you bought both together, it was like 110 or something like that. Which I thought was interesting. Gary Russell is on the undercard. Richardson Hitchens versus Oscar Duarte is on the undercard. I think that's a good fight. Josh Warrington against Lee Wood again. They're fighting again. That's interesting. That's February 21st. Who else do we have? Emmanuel Navarrete, February 28th. Glendale, Arizona against Eduardo Nunez. Emiliano Vargas is on that undercard. I wonder if his brothers will show up and if they will be sitting next to each other. Yeah, that's pretty much what we have for February. And then you see March 8th there, Opataya, who's also, I think, signed with Sufa Boxing. They're showing those fights on Paramount Plus. So if you have Paramount Plus, you'll be able to watch those fights on that streaming platform. But yeah, not looking bad, man. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, Joe, I succumbed to the pressure. I ended up getting the DAZN Ultimate package, man. Again, I'm not promoting it, man, but those pay-per-views were adding up, and I was like, man, let me just do this, get 2 for 1. I'm gonna look at the calendar just like you just enumerated right now. But if there's some slow months for DAZN, I'm canceling and re-signing up when there's like 2-3 fights. Joe, we gotta save that dollar, Joe. Gotta save that money.
How much did you pay for that? I haven't looked into it.
I paid $45 a month for the obviously Shakur, and that Ryan Garcia fight. So if I bought them separately, it was gonna be like over 120. So I was like, might as well just pay 45 for these two. So at least that's the monthly.
Yeah, that's a deal. That's a deal right there.
Yeah. If it gets slow in March and April or whatever, I'm canceling, and then I'll buy it again when there's some name fights. But if there's at least two, that's a deal. We gotta do the math, man. Gotta do the math.
Figueroa's gonna get beat up, says Iceman. We'll see, man. Nick Ball be surprising sometimes.
I don't know if the UK fighters have been watching the podcast and all the trash talking we do, but they've been showing up. The last couple of months, Gio, the UK fighters have been they've been showing up.
Yeah.
Shout out to the UK fans.
Shout out to Dalton Smith. Shout out to Josh Kelly, the newest champions for the UK. So, yeah, shout out to them. Let's see if Nick Ball can do his thing on Saturday in Liverpool. But yeah, that's all we got, I think. If you're new to the channel, make sure to sub. Follow us against DA-Ropes on all the socials. And yeah, I think that's all. That's all we got for now, man. It's an annual contract, says Big Bro. I don't know, man. Did Chris get got?
I'm doing the month to month. I'm not doing the year one, man. I'm doing month to month and cancel anytime. But they still, like, if you cancel, they still give you like 15, 20 days free. So that's how they get you, Gio. They keep you in the loop.
I don't know, man. Last time I tried to cancel, they were trying to scam me. So better watch them. Watch them guys from the zone. I haven't been a subscriber for a long time, by the way. So I don't know.
You gotta get that. You gotta get that passcode from Big Bro. He got it.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. All right. Well, that's that, man. We'll be back soon, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace, mates. Payday. Payday.
I cannot senior.
Shakur's getting them paydays.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time on y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.